and welcome to Falcon News Special Report.
Today we will be talking about how COVID has affected us and the people around us.
We all know that COVID has made a big impact on our lives, but how big?
Tens of millions of people from all over the world have been impacted.
Many people have lost their jobs and fell into poverty. Those who have been lucky enough to be able to keep their jobs have had to make many changes in the way they work and live.
Today we have Nurse Wright, Mr. Rosenbaum, and a few students from our own school to share a little about themselves and how COVID has affected their jobs as well as their school life.
Now let's hear from our guests.
Hi, I'm Paige Grimshaw and I'm here with Nurse Wright. We have a few questions to ask you. What is your favorite memory from school?
One of the first things that popped into my head was I was the kid that always went to the nurse. I was always trying to avoid gym class especially. Sorry to all our great gym teachers here, but it wasn't as fun when I was at school.
Okay. Our second question is, who was your childhood hero?
My childhood hero, you guys probably won't remember this person at all, but her name was Dorothy Hamill, and she was an Olympic ice skater. And I had the Dorothy Hamill haircut, and I had the little ice suit. I wanted to be Dorothy Hamill.
Was there any profession you wanted to pursue before you became a school nurse?
Yes, for several years, believe it or not, I was a flight attendant, and I got to go to really great places and see the world, and I would go back and do it again in a heartbeat.
And then how did you get to your position/job you have now?
I always knew I wanted to be a school nurse, even when I was in nursing school. You just never, each day is different, and it's great to get to know the kids, and yeah, I just worked at several different places before I ended up here, but this is where I always wanted to be.
What is the hardest thing about your job?
The hardest thing this year is obviously COVID and doing everything that involves that. I miss just seeing the students every day for issues, and now everything seems like it revolves around COVID, and it's just kind of depressing, but we're going to get through this.
How has your job experience changed with COVID?
In the past, my goal is to keep the kids in school. My motto is kind of, you may not feel great, but you can still make it through the day. But now everybody that comes in, I have to assess for symptoms of COVID, and a lot of kids get sent home or have to stay home if they have those symptoms that normally I would let them stay at school with.
And everyone wants to know, what did you do while the students weren't here at school?
I kept very busy. I work for community hospitals, so they sent me a lot of different places. I've worked at the cancer center, I've worked at an orthopedic doctor's office, and I was one of the people in the big Martian suits doing the COVID tests and the drive-through tents. I've done that too. So I've been very busy this past year.
How do you think your job will continue to change?
I think as we progress through COVID and find that more people are getting vaccinated, and hopefully it's on its way out, I think hopefully my job is going to change and go a little bit back to normal soon, we all hope.
How has COVID prepared you for the upcoming years?
Like most of us, we've never been in a pandemic before, so this is my first too, and I guess it's prepared me to be more prepared. You know, I used to have a ton of masks in the clinic, and I would kind of joke about what are we ever going to do with all these masks? Here we are. So I think just be more prepared and take things more seriously when they first start, so we can not let it get this far.
So what was one of the worst injuries you've seen as a nurse?
As a nurse, as a school nurse, your clinic is kind of a little mini ER, because like I said before, you never know what's going to walk in the door. I can't think of what is the worst one right off the top of my head, because there's a lot, but lots of broken bones. When I worked at an elementary school, people would fall off those monkey bars and break their arms, so saw a lot of that. So yeah, mostly broken bones, and I'll leave it at that.
Thank you so much, and we enjoyed interviewing you.
Thank you.
How has your school experience changed because of COVID, Ethan?
It has changed by not being able to experience school how it's meant to be experienced, and also not being able to socialize with your friends as much.
I have to agree there.
How has COVID affected your school life? COVID has affected my school life because I can't socialize with my friends as much anymore.
Yeah, that's pretty hard.
How has your school life changed because of COVID?
My school life's changed because of COVID because we now have to wear masks. We have a block schedule, so we only have 4 classes a day instead of 7. And then also we weren't even 100% full-time in person until a couple weeks ago. So yeah.
I'm here with Mr. Rosenbaum, and I was wondering, what's the hardest part of your job?
I'd say the hardest part of my job might just be my weakness, which is probably organization. And there's so many things that are going on at the school, whether it's, this week, I guess, testing and all those things. So trying to keep track of everything between students and staff members and parents and everything in between, and just trying to kind of make sure that you're trying to do the right thing by all of those different people and keeping those things balanced. That's one of the hardest parts of my job.
Who do you interact with more because COVID has taken place?
I don't know if it's anybody more. It might be almost less, it seems like, because we do spend a lot of time when we do get some COVID cases and things like that. Sometimes it's just kind of the small group between the principal, the athletic director, the nurse, and we kind of go into it all together and try to figure out, was there any close contacts and things like that. So I would say that's just a different process, something that we hadn't done in the past, but we've always had a pretty good working relationship just because of how much we have to kind of balance off of one another and work together. But that definitely has been a big change this year than years past.
How do you think your job will continue to change with COVID?
Well, it'll be interesting. I get questioned all the time about what's going to happen next year. We're going to still be in masks, will we still be doing contact tracing going forward into next year? And I think there's a lot of questions still up in the air. There's still people who are pretty passionate on both sides. And at the end of the day, we're trying to just please the community, please our you guys are our clients, right? We're trying to do the best thing by you and the best thing by the parents in the community. So it's kind of like we're just waiting and seeing kind of where everybody's going to be with that, and then we'll kind of react based off of kind of some of the guidelines that are passed along to us.
What is something you miss before COVID started?
I would say, one of the things I miss, it feels like when everybody's in a mask, I know for me personally, I'm a little bit less likely to talk as much. And I would say, when you're in education, you get into this business so you can talk and converse with students, right, and families. You're in the people business, and it almost sometimes feels like this takes away that, it's almost like there's a barrier to the conversations that can be had. So I would say that's one of the things I missed. I'm looking forward to going back to, a life without masks, where it seems like there's a little bit more conversation that's going on, and that's definitely one of the things that I miss.
How has your job changed with COVID?
Well, that's a good question, and it's there's a lot, right? A lot of things changed. It's almost like we've kind of gotten into a little bit more of a normal practice now. But you got to think, like, nobody even wore masks, a year ago hardly, and then that kind of came along, and then there's the contact tracing, and then we were in 50-50, and so we spent a lot of hours, walking through and thinking through like the schedules, the operations of the entire building. We went from a straight, 7-period day to a block schedule. We were in and we're out. We were here, I think every day of the week for a while, and then Fridays we went virtual. So, it feels like we've just moved things around constantly all year long. So I don't know if there's one thing of the entire building that hasn't been impacted by COVID this year. So that's a really big question, and it's almost like you can look at the cafe, you can look at the drop-off line, you can look at the classroom, you can literally look at every aspect of how we do school, and it has changed based on COVID. So it's something that I think we almost have gotten so normal with, but when you really think about every aspect of the building, it's all been impacted by COVID. So it's almost everything in the job is different.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching today's special report.